Well, it's always a big game when these two go head to head. And of course, everyone waits with bated breath to find out the news of the coin flip. So, what did happen when Virat Kohli and MS Dhoni went out there to toss? What was the result of. Wait, hang on, it was not them. Oh, I've just been told that it was not Virat Kohli and MS Dhoni who went out to toss. I'm still getting used to it, gentlemen. Welcome to Cricbuzz Live. It's a new look Chennai. It's a new look Bangalore. It might be well into the tournament. I'm joined by Harsha Bhogle and Simon Doull. It does take him getting used to. It's Chennai versus Bangalore. It was almost meant to be. Two legends who have always walked out there. You're always waiting for them at the toss, Harsha. But Jadeja, Faf du Plessis, get used to it.
Listen, if you're feeling that way, can you imagine how the Yellow Army is going to feel? Because for years they've said Faf is one of us. He incidentally belongs to South Africa. He's one of us. What's he doing in red? So can you imagine how torn they are? I mean, I just put it out on Twitter and the overwhelming response is hope Faf does well, but hope CSK win. Yeah. But I think today might be a slightly better day for CSK because I saw Graham Swan's pitch report. And while I don't understand pitches, I just saw the Hoover, and it is very brown and very dry. And CSK have Tikshana, Jadeja, Moeen Ali. So it might just be a little better for CSK today.
And you talk about all these matchups. I mean, it's inevitable that Faf will be asked about playing against his old mates because it's been so recent. And Simon, he's done so well for them.
Yeah, absolutely. Look, he's a stalwart of CSK, isn't he? And even though they wanted to keep him, they couldn't afford to keep him and keep the side that they've got together now. And it's a massive. I mean, they've had a massive loss with Deepak Chahar. Let's not forget that in the early part of the season, with the way the surfaces have played, I think he would have made a huge difference to their side. Would he have meant they've had a win on the board? Possibly, but I don't think they would have won 4 games with him. So, they've got to find a way to win without those two guys in particular. And I get the feeling that, Faf still, like he wants to win tonight, but every other game he kind of wants Chennai to still win. And that's the sort of, that's the sort of bloke he is, sort of player he is. But he'll want to do well against his old franchise. And I think the Chennai faithful want him to do well. But as you just said, they want Chennai to still win.
Yeah, it sort of like used to happen with Sachin Tendulkar when he used to go. People would want to see him bat well against England, Australia, South Africa, whoever it is. As long as our country can win, we'd love 100 from Sachin. But Harsha, for Faf, it's almost like a swing in golf, a 4-shot swing in golf, because Faf's loss to Chennai has done to their top order what it's done in terms of strengthening Bangalore's top order.
Okay, I mean, the moment you said golf, I started looking at Dooley, but I'll look at the numbers anyway. But yes, what he provided there to CSK, and that's CSK's DNA, is a solid start. And I think that is what he has brought to RCB as well. And I think that is what will release Virat Kohli more and more as the tournament goes along, and Maxwell and everybody else, and see how he's carrying young Rawat along. And they stayed with Rawat, which is not something RCB did over the years. RCB used to chop and change. So they're staying with players, which is something CSK used to do. And Rawat responded last game with a good performance. So if Faf can continue doing that, then it's good, yeah. But CSK are having problems top of the order largely because of Ruturaj Gaikwad. He's a fine player of spin. And when he plays well, you want to watch the game. So hopefully he'll do well. Now for all the golf references, you can go to Dooley because I have breakfast with Dooley. And while it's not quite Murli Karthik talking about golf, there's a fair bit of golf, as you can imagine.
Yeah, Dooley, I mean, yesterday, we love Harsha a lot. But once Michael Vaughan and me started talking about little nuances from the final round at the Masters.
Forget Masters. He was talking about Jack Grealish and everybody.
That's more your area of expertise. You'd know a thing or two about Jack Grealish. You're a football expert. But yeah, Dooley, in terms of just the whole reversal, Ruturaj Gaikwad will hope that there's a certain law called the law of averages, which he'd love to adopt tonight.
Yeah, he would. Look, I mean, he was so good last year. We talk often about the second season blues, the second year blues. Guys know now how you play. And because you've had such a good first season or first year, whether it be domestic cricket or any sort of format, I suppose, you've got to back that up the second year. And it's always the hardest time because people know how you play. They know where your strengths are. They've figured out 1 or 2 weaknesses and they look at where to bowl. And also that added pressure comes onto you as well when you're a retained player or when you're a high profile player. So there's all those things that come into mind, and we know he's talented, but he needs that one innings this season to make him realize, okay, we're all right now. I'm back on track. And remember, he took 3 innings last year, didn't he, before he got going? And it's been 4 this year. Maybe it's tonight. Maybe tonight's his night.
Dooley, it was 3 both seasons. We had put that up at the start of the season. 2020, 2021, his highest score was 10 over those 6 innings. This time, when he did 3, we thought innings number 4. He was actually playing well, Harsha, that 4th innings, until he got an unplayable ball.
And you get these moments. For example, when things are out, you'll suddenly get a direct hit from somewhere. Science cannot explain that, but it happens sometimes. I only hope something like that doesn't happen. Sometimes you need that little element of luck. One little inside edge that doesn't hit the stumps, but just goes away and you think, right, I'm here. But I think it's fair to say, given that, look, we mentioned this yesterday, Robin is now at the tail end of his career. So what you get from Robin really is a bonus. But if Robin can get them off to that big start and give Ruturaj those 10, 12 balls that he so craves, and that helps the progression of his strike rate, that'll be perfect. And I won't be surprised if there's no dew today. It may not be a bad track to bat first.
Yeah, well, we will give you the toss news. It's still 21, is it, in a row? It's 22, I beg your pardon. It's 22. That's 22 in a row. Team winning the toss has decided to bowl first. In this case, it's Faf du Plessis. And Chennai, as if they didn't have enough to do, will now have the added responsibility of putting a score on the board. But as Harsha said, if there is no dew, maybe to clear their minds, it just might be a good thing for them. They're playing the same 11. We thought, Dooley, that they might make some wholesale changes. 0-4. What are we going to do? That's a good sign.
Yeah, it is a good sign. It's also a sign that they've read the surface, I think, and much like you, Harsha was mentioning earlier, a lot less grass. Perhaps it's a surface that, they picked a team, and when I look through their team and their franchise without Deepak Chahar, they've got a team that could probably win 5 or 6 games at the back end of the tournament in the second half if the surfaces start to dry up a little bit, and if the grass disappears and the dew stays away a little bit later in the tournament. But they didn't have a really good seam attack that could win them games early on unless their batters were getting 190, 200. And even then it was going to be difficult. But they've got a side that probably suits a slightly drier, slightly slower surface. They've opted to bowl first. They've got a bat first, so that maybe negates a little bit of that. But, it is a side that I think suits a slower surface, and it suits sort of a Chennai type pitch, doesn't it? Which, they may get at the back end of the tournament.
Yeah, well, we've told you the toss news. The bad news for them, which of course may not affect necessarily today's game because they weren't expecting him back today or tomorrow, is that Deepak Chahar may not be back at all for the entire tournament. The earlier injury, compounded by a back injury, Harsha, means that might be goodbye Deepak Chahar for this tournament.
You have to feel for him because this tournament was tailor-made for him, and it's hurt CSK very, very badly because they committed so much money to it. Maybe if they'd committed less money, they could have gone higher for Faf. But you know what? Hindsight is perfect vision anyway. But I was very surprised when I heard he's going to come and play midway through, because while I've not had that injury, I asked people about a tear, and they said, no, he's not going to come back. It's going to take a minimum of 6 or 8 weeks. So when I heard that he's going to be available midway through, I said, good for him and good for CSK, but it was never going to happen. So now they know he's not there. Maybe they can now look at other options too. Who knows? Ishant Sharma might be back bowling in yellow. So but if the tracks remain the way they are, then look at this team. They've got Tikshana, Moeen Ali, and Ravindra Jadeja. They'll get Chris Jordan, Dwayne Bravo, and a little bit of Mukesh Chowdhury. So they're okay over here. If the tracks slow a little bit and Tikshana is going to give them overs. The other day when Tikshana played, they attacked him at the start, and that's where their plan went awry. So I think they'll depend on the tracks. But the fact is they know that they are right on the precipice. They lose today, nobody is coming back from 5 defeats.
I just worry, sorry, Harsha, Gautam,
Yeah.
I worry using Tikshana up top. I know he doesn't mind bowling with the new ball, but when you've got Chris Jordan, Mukesh Chowdhury, I just think, give them 2 overs apiece with the new ball. See if it swings a little bit. And then when it's a little bit drier and perhaps the surface might be a little bit more conducive, then I think you bring Thiksha. I just don't know whether you're giving him the best possible opportunity. He's not a Mujib who takes a lot of wickets with the new ball and enjoys bowling with it more than he probably does the older ball. Mujib's got that one that swings back in. Thiksha is more of that mystery, left and right, and does both ways. So I just wonder whether he's slightly better with just a little bit older ball. So I don't know whether they're doing him the right service. And if there's left-handers at the top, like Bangalore have in one left-hander, I don't mind Moeen Ali bowling it over with the new ball if that's the way they want to go.
Dooley, this is one for you actually, because as a swing bowler, I guess you love swing yourself. But I think we're seeing more swing this year than there was last year. And you're seeing Umesh Yadav's getting swing. How good was Trent Bolt the other day? Prasidh Krishna, Mohammad Shami. There's more swing this year.
Is it more humid, Harsh? I mean, you're a Mumbaiker. Is it more humid at the moment? What's the reason? There's that little bit of breeze that sometimes just blows, probably more so at Brabham and even at DY than it does at Wankhede because it's so enclosed at Wankhede that the wind or the breeze doesn't tend to get inside the ground unless you're in those top tiers. But I'm not sure why. Usually it's around the humidity and things that creates the swing, which I guess also in turn probably means that the dew forms a little bit more as well.
Well, we're hoping the spray will keep that away. I was just, as you mentioned all those names, I was even thinking that someone like Bolt is a stalwart. Even a newcomer like Vaibhav Arora was able to swing the ball appreciably. Yes. So I think that's an indication that there is swing around for everyone if they're able to be exponents of it. One new name, none in the Chennai side, one new name for Bangalore. I know it's a forced change with Harshal Patel missing out and Josh Hazelwood comes in, and that's the one new name we're talking about. Suyash Prabhudesai, the fourth player from Goa to get a contract in the tournament. Harsha?
I wonder where he's going to bat. He might well bat 6 because he's a batting all-rounder. I was just looking up his numbers, strikes at 140 plus for Goa and Mushtaq Ali. And he's got 2 wickets in T20 and 4 in List A, which means that he can bowl, but he's not in this side as a bowler, his side as a batting all-rounder. So if you look down that side again, I think you'll find a lot more of Shahbaz. And given the nature of the surface, maybe that is why they've opted for a batting all-rounder who can give them a little bit. And if the track is dry, they might ask Shahbaz and Glenn Maxwell to give them a couple of overs each, and then go Hasaranga, Hazelwood, Siraj, Akashdeep, and say to Prabhudesai, I might give you 7 and 9 or something like that. Slip you around 9 and 11 or something. But I won't be surprised if we see a little bit more of Shahbaz and a little bit of Glenn Maxwell today.
Again, Dooley, we don't know enough about him, but it just strikes me a little bit in the Ramandeep Singh mold in terms of the way Mumbai brought him in. Here we were talking about, a Daniel Sams has gone out. We're going to get a bowling all-rounder in. Does Ramandeep bowl? What does he bowl? No, he doesn't. So maybe that's kind of the predicament they'll be in, but obviously a lot more of Akashdeep, perhaps Glenn Maxwell too.
Yeah, I think
Shahbaz.
Yeah, no, I think on this sort of surface, if we're reading it right, and if what we're being told and seeing is right, then there's no reason why Maxwell doesn't bowl 4, and there's no reason why Shahbaz doesn't bowl 4. And if Hasaranga is going to do his job, you could get 11 or 12 overs out of the spinners, and that certainly makes a difference to the seam bowlers. You've got 3 seam bowlers to get through 8, maybe 9. If one of them's not as good, it's a sort of thing though, isn't it? It's one of those situations, and thoughts go out to Harshal Patel's family. This is the sort of surface. If it's dry in nature, he becomes almost not a 4th spinner, but because of his slow ball options and deception, he's so good on these sorts of pitches as well. So he could be sorely missed tonight.
I mean, it's terrible. How he's 32, 33. That means life has taken away a woman in her prime. I mean, it must be so difficult for someone at this age to lose a sibling. So, as you said, the really heart goes out to Harshal Patel. He doesn't rush his way back in. Sometimes it's just better to let the grief go. But again, sometimes if you're so much in love with the game becomes a balm for you. So I don't know how it is. I don't know Harshal Patel well enough for that. So yeah, I hope he comes back. But Dooley's point is absolutely valid. From now on, if the tracks are indeed going to be like this, then he'll become an even more potent force.
Yeah, he certainly will be. We've had a couple of players in the domestic circuit, Harsha, who had bereavements in the family, and as you said, it was their choice. They came back immediately. I can't remember who it was. A young man came and made 100 the very next day in this year's Ranji Trophy, not too long ago.
Saurashtra boy,
So once again, as we said yesterday, our thoughts go out to Harshal and to his family. And as Harsha said, we hope he comes back at the time when he's ready to. But certainly, Dooley, from a cricketing point of view, we can't reiterate how much he'll be missed. It was almost as if he's a given. Of course, there's stalwarts in the team, but he was almost much more than a stalwart.
Well, he'd become like one of their main men. I mean, if you throw in a list down, he's in the top 3 on the bit of paper at the moment. Obviously retained for really good money, leading wicket taker last year. And when you look at what he offers with the bat as well, he just feels like he belongs now. And it's almost like this is his year to shine, whether it be with the ball again or or with the bat as well, and win games for Bangalore with both formats. And you sort of almost looked at him and you think he really feels like he belongs in that unit now, and he's got the confidence of coaches, captains, and everyone around him.
Yep, of course, key wickets is what he picked up. You remember the wicket of Rohit Sharma, deceived by that slow ball, the cotton ball. So it's not just about the wickets. He picks up the big players, and he will be missed. But they will be looking
I'm
at.
going to pick up, if you don't mind, Gautam.
Yeah.
Sorry. I'm going to pick up from what Dooley said about the swing early on and the fact that spin might bowl more. They might bowl Siraj up, not leave too much for the back, because up at the top he's really moving the ball well. If the ball is swinging around, might even give him 3 up front, because unlike in 21, he's gone back to being a little expensive at the death. So maybe they'll hold Hazelwood a little bit. And I've been so impressed. I'd love to get Dooley's view. Really impressed with Akashdeep, young kid who comes, bangs, hits the deck hard, full of energy, bowling 140 plus. So given that they have 3 seamers, they might well go Siraj heavy at the top and take spin deep. We've seen with Chahal that spin deep is working. They might go Hasaranga deep as well. So we might see that with the ball swinging.
So deep, not deep?
Akash deep.
Yeah, Akash deep, not deep.
Akash deep.
Hasaranga deep, and spin deep, but not deep.
Yeah.
I was just trying to work that out as you were going through it.
I got it. Eventually,
but you're absolutely right, though, Harsh. I do like it. It's the theory around it, I think, absolutely works. If you've got quality spin, there's no reason why spin can't play a part. I think 15, 16, 17. And even if you've got a couple of left-handers and you want to bowl an over of spin in the 18th, taking it away from them, I don't have a problem with that. I think I thought that Jadeja could have bowled the last over in one of the very early games instead of Shivam Dube, or the 19th over, or the last over, was it? Whichever one Shivam Dube bowled. We thought that 19th. Jadeja, 19th. Jadeja could have bowled that one perhaps. So there's no reason why, if you're a quality bowler, whether you be spin or seam, there's no reason why you can't bowl an over late in the piece. And I've been impressed with Akashdeep as well. I think he's a great prospect. There's been so many throughout the early parts of this tournament, and the sort of the net is now being spread further around the country with the 2 new franchises, and it is only unearthing just more and more talent.
Yeah, I mean, I was wondering if that. I know Stephen Fleming came out after that game, Harsha, and he pretty much said that there is a reason we had no option almost but to go to Shivam Dube. I'm just wondering, in that scenario, would Jadeja bowling or not bowling have depended on who's captain? I mean, him saying, okay, let me take the ball right now, versus MS going to him and say, Jadu, bowl me this tough over.
Yeah. Look, it's if MS Dhoni is in the side and he's not captain and you're captain, inevitably the eyes will stay on MS rather than on you. And so he's on hiding to nothing, Jadeja, because if he does well, people will say it was Dhoni's decision. If he does badly, they'll say, look, Dhoni is not captain. So he'll have to tide over this season. I actually believe, and CSK fans are going to hit me on the head for this, that from Jadeja's point of view, it might have been better if MS wasn't playing. I know he's going to say that, look, he controls the infield, I'm standing out on the boundary. But if he wants to be his own man as a leader, it's a huge it's a huge shadow to live under. So I mean, I don't know what the relationship between them is, but the fact is that Jadeja is not the player that he was. Sometimes we take two events and seek a correlation between them, which may not always be correct. But Jadeja is not the player he was, and I just wonder whether it's weighing a little bit on him. You know, some people are just born to lead. They get buoyed by leadership. I don't know if he's getting a little burden, because you need Jadeja, the free player, batting at number 5, left-hander, go and finish innings.
Yeah, I mean, those numbers just speak for themselves. We already know what's happened on the field. We've seen the body language, and now we've seen the numbers to back that up. But we can only hope that changes quickly for the sake of the men in yellow. What about all of you out there, no matter what color jersey you're wearing, which team you're supporting? We still love your questions to keep coming in on hashtag AskCricbuzz What have we got in store today? Is it? No, it's not a Dhoni Kohli question, which we love. Something different. Pankaj Parwani. Last season, Mohammad Siraj had a superb economy of 6.78. After being retained, he has leaked runs at 11.13. What is going wrong with him, or is anything, Simon Doull?
Look, I expected, I think I said at auction time, I expected a big season from Mohammad Siraj. I thought he'd become a far better international bowler. I just wonder whether he's searching for those wickets instead of just bowling that good hard length, which I think was successful for him last year and is successful for him at the international level. I just wonder whether now, because he's been retained, because he feels like there's maybe a little bit more pressure, whether he's just starting to search a little bit for those wickets. You look at, last year, even though he only got 11 wickets in 15 matches, average decent and economy was outstanding. He was getting wickets for Harsha Patel at the other end. There's no surprise, that correlation, if you throw Harsha Patel's bowling from last year in with Mohammad Siraj, because he was going at very few runs, it was just creating wickets at the other end. So to me, he may be just searching a little bit for them. And if he just goes back to hitting that nice hard length, I think he'll be okay.
Searching. It's an interesting thought. I think Ruturaj is searching too hard for runs. Siraj is searching too hard. And that is why players who play well season after season after season and who play well in spite of having a great reputation are legends. That's why longevity is such a big quality, because now you crave the runs because everyone expects the runs and you still get them. And that is where the Sirajes and the Ruturajes and all would be more interesting to see this season, to see how they adapt.
Is it a case, perhaps, just to conclude on this topic, of not being an obvious retention? I mean, there are some players, the Rohit Sharmas of the world and Andre Russells, they were always going to be retained and they knew it. But Siraj wasn't an obvious choice. Neither was Rituraj, almost, yes. But is there a little bit of pressure saying, okay, now retained and hence searching?
There's always going to be that pressure. I just think if you are retained, you're basically one of the three that is going to have to lead that franchise, and then they have to build a team around you. But I don't know that I just think that he will feel a little bit of that pressure. But I always thought he was a out and out retention for Bangalore. I just thought he was one of their key bowlers last year, along with Harshal. So to me, it was always going to be it was going to be a tough choice. There was probably two other options, but I always felt that he was going to be one of their retentions.
I was in the Chahal camp. I was in the Chahal retention camp. But anyway, that's. Yeah.
But listen, they'd made up their mind on Hasaranga. You knew they'd made up their mind on Hasaranga. So once they'd said, come what may, we're going to put aside 9 crores for Hasaranga, then it made more sense to keep Siraj than to keep Chahal.
Yeah, well, there you go. With those names we mentioned, they're all in there. Chahal's up there wearing the purple cap. He borrowed Joss Butler's orange cap. They swapped it around. They have fun in that franchise. And Wanindu Hasaranga is also, he's going to be in action today at 8 wickets, trying to creep up to Chahal.
It's an interesting list, isn't it?
Yeah, it is.
Sorry.
All the spinners.
Sorry, there might be a little lag on my line. That's why I'm interrupting you. I'm sorry about that. That list, if you look, Chahal not retained. Umesh Yadav picked up at the very end. Kuldeep Yadav not even certain of getting a franchise, hardly getting a game in the last 2 years. Hasaranga played the tail end of last season and got hammered. Natarajan coming out of injury and not sure how much he's going to play. Here's a story for all of you. Don't think too much. You never know what life throws at you. Just enjoy the ride.
Yeah, there's a good point there. If we had to, how many games are in? 22 games in. If someone had to make a predicted purple cap list at this stage, perhaps not every name would be in there. Maybe a Chahal would have been, but we were not so sure about all the others. Quick, one more bowler that we can have a quick chat about before we wrap up here, and that's the man coming into the side, Josh Hazlewood. He's performed well at the international stage. We always say Simon Doull, he's one of those bowlers we thought of as a test match bowler. How much of a conversion has he done to this short format?
Well, very few players go to Chennai and come away worse. I will say that. It's one of the things that they have had for many, many years, whether it be around playing with MS, the simplicity of his messages, Stephen Fleming's coaching, and you look at those numbers before Chennai and after Chennai, and that's what it tells you. Average is better, strike rate is better, economy rate is better. So it just tells you that he's become more consistent. He's become a wicket taker, a genuine wicket taker. Remember, he took those numbers through to that from last season. He took those numbers through to the T20 World Cup and was brilliant. Probably was Australia's best bowler outside of Adam Zampa through that World Cup as well. So, as I say, I just think, I mean, I don't know whether I'm being a little bit biased because Stephen Fleming's there and the great MS has been there, Harsha, but to me, very few players go to Chennai from another franchise or from anywhere and come away, lesser players.
I've had more than one person say, though, Dooley, that they look at Hazlewood and think there's a facial resemblance to you. So we'll let that be. You can talk about him. What I will say, though, is he would have looked at the first 4 or 5 games, Hazlewood, looked at the tracks and said, wow, I'd have enjoyed bowling on those. I think the tall it doesn't hit the deck hard, but the tall line and leg bowler who nibbles it both ways has been very successful. I think Hazlewood early part of the season would have been really good. Let's see how he goes on this track because he's just a quality bowler. He hasn't played for a long time, though. Didn't play the last 2 tests in Pakistan. Didn't play the white ball games there. So we'll see if he's a bit rusty.
Yeah, well, it's still relatively early, if you like, but it's not relatively early on our show. We're almost at the end. Just a couple of things to get through with. And one is our Joy Factor question for the day, our little brain teaser. And this one is, here we go, drum roll. Can we have it, please? There it is. Only 18 men have scored international centuries in all 3 formats of the game. We can think of a few names. Who's the only one to achieve it as captain? A lot of names come to mind. You've got to focus and find out who could have done it as captain. That's your question for the day. My question to both of you, as we always do. We've got no formulae here to work with. Michael Vaughan has help from his tech squad who sits with him in the room. Ajay Jadeja has a fixed number he always goes with. But there's no formula here, gentlemen. So, Harsha, would you like to lay down the marker, as it were?
For the score today?
Yeah.
159. And if it goes high, when I meet Graham Swan next, I'll tell him retire from doing pitch reports. I trusted you.
All right, fair enough. We'll pass it on to him. Dooley, are you going to trust an English spinner?
I'll have to trust an English spinner because I haven't really seen enough. It does look browner at a quick glance. So I'm going to say, what's he on, 159? I'm going to lowball a little bit in 147.
147. Oh, Bangalore fans will be loving both of you.
The field's open for you.
Yeah, no, I'm going up. I'm going up this time. I'm going up 166. 166. Not too high.
You wanted to go 180. Go 180. Come on, follow your instinct. You wanted to go 180.
Stop pressurizing me, Harsha. 166. I'm very happy with. Nothing to do with the surface. I'm not even looking at the surface. As you said, we're not necessarily experts until 40 overs are bowled. I'm just going by a gut feel and what Chennai have to struggle to deliver. Hopefully, this time things will change. Just a quick reminder, if you want to pop into Cricbuzz Plus, there's so much on offer. We know we have the match party on Sundays, but Retro Reels is out. Brand new episode. Have a look at that. We involve the Beatles. We've involved history of cricket, other sports. And this time around, there's a touch of women's cricket in it. So Cricbuzz Plus, Joy Bhattacharya, and Retro Reels. That's all we have on this show. We'll be back in the 10th over with Cricbuzz Combox. And we, of course, will be back in the mid-innings as well. For now, from Harsha, Simon, and myself, it's goodbye from Cricbuzz Live.